Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So as you guys know, my crafty bestie, Beatrice and I are doing a collab series of sketches, and this week we're doing our second sketch, and we're actually going to be doing all 5 of these that you see here. Okay, there's no measurements on them, but you can definitely pause and take a look at the different pieces, and I will also have it in the left hand corner while we're making the cards. So I'm using Paige Evans' whimsical collection, and I'm just using my art glitter glue and my ATG. And for those of you who are joining me for the first time, I do that because it allows me time to kind of move paper around if I put it on a little wonky. So I take advantage and I try to use that art glitter glue to help me maneuver sometimes. Okay. And on this one, we're doing the bottom left hand sketch where you have the 2 triangle pieces and it has more of a square. Well, in the cut apart sheet that was in the collection, because I got the paper pad, the actual collection, they had some of these cut aparts, and this one, which I really liked, and it kind of had a rainbow feel, it says, "Do what makes your soul happy." And I just thought that was a really pretty, sentiment. And then I'm using, even though the whimsical has more of a copper foil, on this one, because there was no copper, I did use some of this gold glitter paper that I have, and I just cut 3 strips to mimic the sketch that we have. And then whenever I'm using like foam tape, whether it be the Scotch brand or this particular brand that I have with the red tape, I always either use my pickup tool, my pokey tool, or I use the end of my scissors to help get the backing off. If you ever have trouble with that, even with score tape, it works with that as well. Okay, so sketch number 2, we're working on the one on the I think it's the middle row, the right hand. Is the one that has the bow kind of going on the diagonal, and then it has the circle in the front, or for the focal image. On this one, I do change up one thing. Instead of having the little like sentiment strip, I actually decided to use a border, and you'll see this video is probably going to be one of my longest when it comes to the sketches, because I am literally figuring this out while you guys are following along with me, trying to figure what colors. I knew what papers I wanted to use, and then I was like, you know what, I've got to add another paper. And I don't know if I was necessarily trying to limit myself by choosing certain papers, and those were the only ones I was going to use. And then I was like, why am I doing that to myself? So new plan. So I grabbed another sheet. I liked this dark pink, and it went really well with the hearts. And I was looking at possibly a border, and I wasn't sure if I should use a different pattern paper for the part that goes across the bottom. And then I was like, you know what, if you look on the sketch itself, it has the dark bluish like teal color in the upper corner, and then on the bottom part it's a different color in that lighter brown. So to me, when I see sketches like that, I think like, okay, so they are saying this is one pattern paper, this could be another pattern paper, and then this is another color, the light baby blue. And so that's what I was looking at when I was trying to piece it all together. And on this particular one, I decided I didn't care. So I knew I wanted to get my pieces attached, and I was about to attach everything to the card base before I was ready. And you're going to see me struggle with lifting it off of my glass mat at times because there was still some glue on the back. But the reason why I did that is because whenever I do ribbon of any sort on a card, I like to put it behind my I guess my grouping, I guess you could call it. And then when I attach it to the card, my ends are tucked underneath. Okay, so if I were to attach everything to the card and then do a bow or try and do the ribbon, then it's gonna, to me, look weird going from the top of the card underneath on the back side, and then it's like, Okay, like what do you do with that? It could slide off. It's not going to really be attached secure. So I always cheat sheet it, and you'll see it here in a second. So I'm looking through my container of ribbon, trying to figure out exactly which way that I want to do it. I liked that kind of darker pink color that I had, and then I was like, nah, but it's too matchy. And then I thought, well, there's some purple in the hearts. I could add a purple element. And then I was like, nope, I'm just going to stick with neutral. And I had this white, I forget what they call it. It's that really soft ribbon. You can color it with your alcohol markers sometimes, like you see people doing that. It's really super soft. And I was going to do, you can see here, I was getting ready to try and do a bow, and I was like, you know what, I'm not in the mood. And sometimes it just doesn't work, okay? And I don't question it. I just let it go and I figure out something else. So whenever my bows are not working the way they should, I do a knot. The knot is my go-to whenever the bows have left the building, okay? So now for our sentiment, I'm doing best wishes, and I have a hand punch that is 1.5 inches, and I had a pre-die cut of a craft scalloped circle, and it just so happens that I think when I put them on, it gives it almost like a little 1/4 inch border, and I was fine with that, and the circle fit right where I needed it to. And I'm just going to try and make sure it's straight, and that card is done. So these are the first two. Now we're going to go on to card number 3. Now for this one, I'm working on the one in the upper right, and I knew, okay, so I had my pre-cut circle, and I'm trying to figure out, do I do it with the yellow? Am I using these colors? Like, how exactly am I going to put this together? And with the yellow, I think I finally decided, let me see here. Yeah, I decided to do the butterflies with the orange. And then you're going to see me use another one of my punches, my hand punches. It's an inch circle punch. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So this is the butterfly paper, and I'm just kind of making sure that my white circle is going to fit where I want it to. And then I'm just, a lot of times I kind of guess, and then I'll put the paper down, because in my mind, if it wasn't big enough and I needed to cut bigger, then I would just cut a bigger piece. And then whatever I cut or messed up, I would just, resize it and use it for scraps. But I just used the hole punch on that pattern paper that had the cutout pieces. I just used it to cut out the butterflies, and I thought it worked perfectly. And then I went to add ribbon, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do the orange ribbon. It's different. And if I do the orange in the upper corner, then that'll work. Now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to put in the center of the circle. And at first I was thinking I would stamp, and then I had a sticker I was looking at, and then I was looking at the chipboard pieces. And since it's going to be on top of craft, I was like, well, instead of using the white, I'll use the craft, and that'll let the circle itself, stand out. And it was perfect, because on the chipboard piece, it has a butterfly, and it says, chase your dreams wherever they may lead. So by having that on the circle, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't need a sentiment. It doesn't need anything else. I put the other 2 butterflies, and I'm going to do the ribbon at the bottom. So you're going to see here. And you can see, like, when I put the butterfly down and I went to pick it up to kind of adjust it, if I hadn't used the ATG and the art glitter glue, I would not have been able to pick that piece up as quick as I did. Because I don't know about, how it works for you guys, but to me, as soon as I put ATG down, that double-sided tape is so strong. If I try to lift it up, it's going to ruin the paper. So I like doing it that way. And then I do lift up the one little edge to try and slip in the other butterfly. And then we're going to put the tape around, and you can see here I'm tucking it on the back side, and then I always put glue and tape over top of the ribbon, and then we're going to attach it to the card front. So now when you open your card, you can't see the edge of the ribbon pieces. You can't see the ribbon going underneath, you know, when you open it, which I love. And I was going to do the bow again, not happy, and was not working. So knot time. So after I did the knot, and like for whatever reason, the knots work. Sometimes I can do the bow and I'll do it separate and then attach the bow, instead of trying to make it like while I'm processing the video. But for some reason on camera, when I try to do a bow, it turns into a headache. So now I'm bringing out some of the Kiwi templates that I have that I wanted to use. One was a 2-inch and one is a 1/2 inch strip, and these I believe are discontinued, but I'd gotten them at the beginning of the year, and I thought they would help me make the stripes. And so by laying everything out, I was thinking, okay, so if I wanted to do this, I'm gonna leave that one that size. Maybe I can do a 2-inch and then use the 1/2 inch for another pattern and just change it up a little bit. But I decided instead of messing with the 1/2 inch at all, I would just make each of the the strips, I was making the 2 of them, I think I made them 1/2 inch, or no, 1.5 inches. And then I'm using the 2-inch here. And to extend it, I'm just dragging it along the line, keeping it as straight as I can. And then I was able to cut and have enough hanging off to get the angle that I want. And you're probably thinking, well, isn't that, they're too long, right? Well, this is what we're going to do. This is so easy. You can do it with any paper, okay? So all I'm doing is making sure that my strips are long enough. I covered my matte piece with the art glitter glue and the ATG tape, and then I'm laying all the pieces up against each other. And what I'm doing is making sure that there's enough covering that brown sheet, right? Well, then you turn it over and you follow the line of your paper with your scissors, and I'm using the shears so it doesn't take much to cut across, and then you just make sure all your edges are nice. Now the thing is, this particular sheet was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I was thinking, you know what, I could either do one of two things. I could stay and, you know, do the oval shape. I really wasn't feeling the oval shape. I was thinking I would do a different label punch, but the size wasn't big enough, so I decided I would do the black oval instead, because I'm going to show you how I'm going to change it out. Right now I'm just trying to figure out what sentiment, but what I decided to do is I take the pattern paper that we just did, and I'm going to trim it up 1/16 of an inch on each side. And I know that sounds crazy, but basically what it is if you know where your 1/8 inch marks are on your ruler, the line in between the 1/8 and the other line, like if you're at 4 and you're at 4 1/8, there's like a little teeny dash right in between. That's the line I lined it up on. And what it did was it took off even amounts on each side, so one side doesn't look like I took off more than the other. It's very technical, but if you don't care, chop it however you want. I just made it 4 by 5 1/4. So now we're just doing some embossing, and I pre-treated it with my EK Success tool. I'm using some white embossing powder, and then I'm heating it up with my heat tool. Make sure you let it run for a little bit before you apply it to the project, and if you see any warping, just try and heat it from behind to give it time to kind of mold itself back. And then once it's cooled off, I just wipe it with my chamois, and it's nice and black again instead of looking chalky. So here's the point where I start doing the trimming that I was telling you about, because I decided it needed a border. It needed to match my sentiment. I was like, okay, I don't want to use brown because then the black is really going to be harsh, you know. So I did a matte in the black at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then, like I told you, I just trimmed a little bit off of all 4 of the ends, so that way I would have a nice even removal, and then when I attach it to the black cardstock, it's perfect. So my suggestion would be, if you're doing anything like that with strips of paper, angles, whether it be stamping or using paper, make sure you start off big, because you can always trim it down. If you start off too small and you make a mistake, then you have nowhere else to go and you have to start over. Whereas if you make it a little bit bigger than what you would need, you have a way to get it exactly right, and then when you cut it out to the exact size you want, it'll be perfect. Once again, putting the ribbon along the back. And if you notice, a lot of times I do not tape down my ribbon on the front side, because either I'm trying to do a bow or I'm going to try and do a knot, and it's easier for me if it's kind of loose than if I were to tape down the entire thing. You can, if you don't plan on, you know, using the ribbon to help tie your knot, that's fine. But just make sure you're mindful of what exactly you're going to do before you go to tape it down, or else you will leave yourself no choice. All right, so I'm attaching that sentiment with the foam tape, and then I'm going to tie my knot a little bit to the angle, and then I put a little bit of the art glitter glue right underneath the knot, repositioned it, and we'll let it dry, because art glitter glue does dry clear, so that'll go away. So now we have 4 cards. And on the 5th one, I decided to do 1 pink and 1 yellow, but it's going to be the same card, because I don't know why they did only 5 sketches, because in my mind, if you're using 8.5 by 11 paper, if you cut it in half either way, you're going to get 2 cards. It's either going to open long ways or it's going to be the shorter side, meaning like if you cut on the 11.5 at 5.5, you have 2 cards. And if you cut on the 8.5 side at 4 1/4, you're going to have 2 cards. You just fold them in half at you know, whichever way you fold it. And so if you're cutting out the cards, you're going to wind up having 6 cards cut, but you only make 5 cards. So I decided, yeah, no, I'm going to make 2. So I decided to use my scraps, and I'm taking one of the charmed templates from my Kiwi Lane charmed. It's number 5, and it's the, what is that, 1 2 3 4 5, yeah, hexagon. And we're going to cut those out, 3 of those in the floral, the green floral. And then I did my punch, which is smaller. I used that on the pattern paper and tried to cut out the butterflies perfectly, so that way they would go with that pattern that we're trying to create. And then I'm just looking through, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to put at the top? Do I want to do a big butterfly? Do I want to do something round? Like, I'm trying to just figure out exactly how I'm going to get this shape going. I know I want to put this here. I thought that was super cute. It says, I have it right here. It says dream, plan, create. And then at the top, I do wind up using this circle here. And it says, believe you can, and you're halfway there. And I just thought that was good. Because you dream it, you can plan it, then you create it, and you'll get there because you believe you can. Perfect. So I'm still playing, trying to figure out, because I was sold, but I wasn't sold. So I checked like a sticker, and then I was going to put it on top of a circle. Now, I was going to use, I don't think I pulled it out yet, but I might be looking at the butterfly right now, because I had the 2 butterflies. I was like, well, what if I put a big butterfly up there? And then it just felt like too much with the butterflies. And I thought about the clouds. This is why I like to pre-plan when I bring you guys my sketches. because sometimes it takes a bit, you know what I mean? Like it's there, but you're just not completely sure, and this is the struggle. So sometimes what I'll do is, like right here, I think I figured it out. Maybe I haven't, but I decided, you know what? Let me just start putting this thing together, because at the end of the day, I have the major pieces, and it's just that one thing that's kind of making me crazy. So I'm just going to go ahead, get them put together, and we'll figure it out. And then I'm going to make sure as we get closer to the end here, because these are the last two cards, that I will make sure we have, you know, the links to Beatrice's account, YouTube, which is down below. So that'll be down in the more sections. The link directly to her video for our series here will also be down in the more section. And definitely check her out if you guys like her videos. Like my video, go ahead and, you know, please subscribe and ring or click on the bell, so that way you know when we're uploading new content, especially for this series, because right now it looks like we're doing them kind of weekly, but it may get to the point where there may be, like, you know, when we start up, we may do another series. Who knows? Maybe I could talk her into it. And if we do, it may be a different schedule, and I would love for you guys to, you know, not miss any of that. So there's that card finish. I finally just decided the circle was going to win. So for the pink one, I will say this one probably came together way easier than the first one, because I don't know if you guys have this, but pink is my color. Okay. I love pink. Anything pink, 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 pink. So whenever I'm crafting with it, it just seems like it flows. It comes together. I don't know. It's just... it's magic for me. Okay. So as soon as I started with the hearts, I was like, okay, I'm going to use some of this glitter. And I don't care that the hearts are copper. The glitter I'm using is more of a gold, but I think it still works. And the only thing on this one that I might not have been 100% sure of, I knew I wanted to put something on the bottom left, but I didn't want to put a sentiment because the circle has words on it. So I decided to grab what looks like a sticker that they made look like washi tape. And then I put a little piece of this copper zigzag at the bottom just to give it a little pizzazz. And I decided at this point I was going to add the Nuvo drops. This one is I think it's the white. Yeah, it's not here on my desk anymore. I think I put it away. So it's the white enamel dots, and I was like, you know what, this will be perfect because it'll work on all of them. And some I had 3 going across the top or going across the bottom. This one I decided to go on that diagonal, and then 3 on the gold strips. And then, oh, here we are, the close-up. So here are the 2 that I did, and then this is that very first one showing you the enamel dots, or the Nuvo drops that we put on it. The one with the butterflies, super cute. I love butterflies. This is the pink and gold, or the, I forget what that called, copper strip that we put on. And then of course with the pattern papers. I think that even though they're completely different patterns, they just seem to work. So thank you guys once again for watching our video series here, the Sketchy Besties collab. And definitely click the links down below so that way you can check out Beatrice's video. And like I said, like and subscribe, and you guys can see our next videos that'll be coming up. Thanks again, you guys, and I hope you have a great day.